What's up, my beloved Luminaries? Marina here. I wanted to talk about the holistic human being. We are magnificent creatures, animals, organisms, humans, whatever we are. You see, we are a soul animating various physical bodies. As the soul emanates off of the supreme source of all consciousness, that is simultaneously formless and has a form, which is the Vedic conclusion. This supreme personality of Godhead is the original personality. It is a person, or that is a personality that you can interact with and have a relationship with eternally. This eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he and she both are simultaneously the Supreme Goddess and the Supreme God. And there's one form that is the Supreme God and one form that is the Supreme Goddess, but both of them are the absolute. Both of them are in totality the wholeness of reality. And yet, from our perspective, they look like two. But they're one. They're one supreme expression from 2 points. And each one of them has their own personality, their own unique personality they express. So Srimati Radharani is her own person, her own personality. And yet she is the totality of all of creation, expressing through that single point. And Sri Krishna, he too is the supreme being, the origin actually. Krishna came to be, and then out of him all personalities evolved from him. And then as the supreme did this, the supreme being created many, many aspects of himself and herself to express the absolute truth in a total and complete way. After that happened, then innumerable souls started to be generated as tiny little particles of divinity. And they started like pollen floating around and pollinating and dusting the place with little individual beings, little individual personalities that the Supreme Being was able to interact with, and that these little individual beings were able to interact with the Supreme. And they're all able to interact with each other, and they're all in a transcendent state. Excuse me. However, there's a material cloud in the corner of reality. It's this shadow, like a cloud, that covers the sun. And as the tiny particles started to pollinate this material cloud, it started to fill it and generate it with life, and nature was born. Nature as we know it was born, and nature functions and moves and is alive because it is dusted with life. It's dusted with consciousness, dusted with innumerable souls. And so these innumerable souls enter the cells of every living being. They animate the grass and the plants and the trees and the insects and the animals and the human beings and the demigods and the planets, etc. And all of those are moving with the symphony and the synchronicity of nature. The symphony and synchronicity of the sound and light emanating from the soul as it's trying to tune itself to the sound and light emanating from the Supreme. And it's when we become dissonant with, or we're not in tune anymore. We're going against nature's flow, nature's symphony. We begin to experience the consequences, and consequences can arise as illness and karmic repercussions and things not going with the flow, and as we'll see as we see how the living entity manifests. So as these soul particulates rain down and enter into this material cloud, the first thing that's enveloped around them as they enter that which is temporary, because everything else is eternal, as these eternal souls enter into the temporary place, they're temporarily enveloped with a mental body. And this mental body is the beginning of the perception of duality or polarity, and is the first covering of bewilderment that makes the soul believe that it's now separate from the Supreme. In the eternal place, there is an eternal connection with the Supreme. And as the soul enters the material realm, the soul perceives separation from the Supreme Being. And that causes agitation and fear and anxiety and desire and grief and anger and attachment. That the soul is now blind, and it starts grappling around in the material world for things to satisfy this grief and anger and attachment and fear in the form of belief patterns, emotional what have yous, particular people, maybe physical objects, animals. We surround ourselves with a particular thing to compensate for this, as we'll get into it. So the mental body is the first thing that envelops the soul. On the positive aspect of the mental body, we have the ability to, perceive and, open-mindedness, and there's, just contentment and understanding. And this is a healthy mental body as it's oscillating at the frequency of the soul. That's on the positive side. But if the frequency gets lower and lower and lower, we go over to the negative side. And the negative side is like bewilderment and confusion and misunderstanding and miscommunication and the inability to, it's just that thick, foggy mind, dull mind that can't comprehend or understand or think straight. And this is what starts to cause hate and anger and envy and fear, because it starts to bewilder the soul. The soul starts to think of its separateness. It starts to think not in terms of reality, but in terms of self and separateness, which ultimately gives birth to the ego, because the ego is really identification with temporary things as I and mine. So this is mine, or I am better than you, or we are better than them, or they are better than us, or you are better than me, or I am this ideology, I am this religion, I am this race, I am this nationality, I am this gender, I am this status, I am this wealthy or poor. All of these are material designations that are all temporary. And the soul is eternal, and so actually the soul is peace and tranquility and unconditional love as it expresses through its unique personality. So anyway, the mental body, as this energy slows down, there's a cymatic shift that happens, and the soul enters into an astral body. And the astral body is technically a condensed thought into a light body. And this light body, known as the astral body, is technically our emotional body. These intense compression of thoughts form deep patterns of light and sound in the form of opinions and judgments and emotions, etc. And of course the astral body is related to astrology, and the sound and light body is influenced by the sound and light as it's emanating off of the orbs and luminaries of the sun and moon and planetary systems and the signs of the stars. All of these are, background noise and background light. And it's our astral body that is picking up this background noise and background light, maybe, untuning us or tuning us, or, skewing our light, or expanding our light, or constricting our light based on the nature of the aspects and the planetary positions in relation to the signs, etc. And so our light body is actually just constantly in undulation with the sound and light patterns of other people, of the stars, of electromagnetic fields, of the sound and light emanating off of physical objects, pranic objects, emotional forms, and mental forms. So, in the positive aspect of our astral body and duality, we have, unconditional love and joy. Just like in the mind, they're linked. Our mind and our emotions are linked. We're capable of, expressing tranquility and peace and unconditional love on the mental and emotional levels. And then again, just like with the mental body, the negative aspect of the astral body is like hate and envy and greed and anger and fear and sorrow and etc., etc., etc. So as this energy slows down, it forms the pranic body. And the pranic body is essentially this pathway of the subtle and physical nervous system, in a sense. It's really these pathways where energy flows. Our nervous system, our brain generates thoughts, and it sends electrical signals through our body to move and to function. Our nervous system is broken up into like 5 or 6 different nervous systems: central nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, sympathetic nervous system, autonomous nervous system, and etheric nervous system. So all of these nervous systems are tuned to different subtleties or coarse vibrations of nature, as intuition, down to our thoughts and emotions, down to moving our physical body. And as our electricity impulses are going through our body, it's producing an electric field and a magnetic field. So this is called biofeedback and bioelectromagnetism, which is an expansion of our nervous system. And it's this bioelectromagnetic field is this double torus shape that is our aura, that is our energetic field, that is picking up information from the universe and kind of decoding it, decoding sound and light, and as information, and our nervous system is processing this information and turning it into thoughts, and turning it into emotions, and turning it into this conduit electrical impulses throughout our body, creating physiological responses as well as psychological responses. And so, yes, our bioelectromagnetic field and our etheric and physical nervous system is translating sound and light as it's coming from everywhere in the actually everything in the universe is made of sound and light, because the soul's qualities are sound and light, and nothing really exists without a soul, as the souls have entered into that material realm and started animating everything. It's infused with sound and light, creating sacred geometry, color and tone and shape and form, etc. So then the etheric body is now this pathways for thoughts and emotions to go through in the body, and then that's condensed into our physical form, which is a replica of what our etheric body looks like. So we technically look like what we think and how we feel.